All right, hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. It's your buddy, Mr. G, and today we're going to talk about typography. We're going to talk about typography and layer styles, and some other different ones. So, our new projects we're going to be doing are going to be dealing heavily with typography. So, we're going to kind of like practice a little bit of our typography so we can be very uh, adept at manipulating typography. So first, we're going to go over here and we're going to go to classwork. What we need to go is to this assignment called typography layer styles. Inside of there, you're going to find this document here. We need to download that. So if you go and click this little guy here, a little menu, and say open a new window, it'll give you the option to download it here out of your Google Classroom here, hit that little download. Now I've already done that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command Tab and go over to my Photoshop here. Okay. Now what we're going to do, we're going to try to recreate each one of these effects that are on here very quickly. Okay. So first thing, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here and I'm going to go to my first one here. Okay. I see it says the word strokes. It's got some outlines all the way around it in like three different colors. I got like a green, a pink, and a purple here. So let's start that. First, I'm going to go ahead and get my typography tool. Now you have several typography tools in that drawer here. Make sure that you have just the plain old horizontal typography tool. And I'm not going to click and drag. If you click and drag, it gives you a text box like that. I can only put text inside of that. And I don't want to do that. I want to just click and release, and it'll allow me to just click a single line. I can go on forever. I can return, but I'm not constrained to a certain size like I am with a text box. So I'm going to go ahead and type the word strokes, S-T-R-O-K-E-S, strokes. Okay. Now, the font we are using for this is called Arial Black. So if you don't have that, you can go ahead and select Arial Black right there. Make sure you got that. And we want to make this highlighted there. We're going to go ahead and we want to make this 30 point. Okay, so we got that. Okay, and then finally, we also want to change the color. Okay, so it's black up here. We see we have our command line up here, and we have our toolbar. Toolbar is what's in your hand, and your command line is what you can do with what's in your hand. Right here, I've got the option to change the color. We're going to go ahead and change the color, and it's black right now, but I can go ahead and if I go on here, I can use my color picker here. But if I'm over here, I can select any color that's on my image here with just the color picker. Okay, so I'm going to select that green. So I have that green, and I'll say OK. I get my move tool, and I'm going to go ahead and just move this off to the side here. Okay, now I've got the word. I'm all ready to go. Now I need to do those outlines on the outside. Okay, to do that, that's going to be a layer effect. Now we can either go down here to our FX button and select which one we know that we want to know. But if you're not sure which one it is, you can always just go up here and you can double click on your layer, and it brings up the layer style dialog box. Okay, now in this dialog box, it happens in real time, so you can move this around so you can see what you're doing. We're going to select, get rid of some of these here. We're going to select stroke. I'm going to go ahead and throw some of these away here. I was working on this before. We're going to throw these away. Throw these away so we got the same thing. Okay, so on here we want to have a stroke, and you can see it says stroke here, and I've got a button there I can click. So when I do that, it's going to add that stroke. Okay, outside stroke here. Okay, you got in your little dialog box here, I've got the size of that. So the bigger I make it, the larger it is. I can position it. You can have it inside, you can have it outside, and you can have it on the center of the image. Okay, in this case, we want to do on the outside. So we're going to set outside, and we're going to have stroke of about 8 there. Okay, our color, again, we can select our color here. To select my color, I click my color picker. And again, I can select any color in here and try to match it, but I can also just come out here and select it with my color picker as well. Either one will work. Okay, so now I have that stroke on the outside. Now I need to add another one. Now you see this little plus sign over here allows you to add another stroke. Okay, now on this, we're going to put another stroke on it. And in this case, we want to get this pink color. So I'll sample that pink color and I'll say OK. But we can't see it until we get bigger because it's underneath this one, stacks just like your layers do in regular Photoshop. So let's go ahead and make this 16. Let's make that 22, actually. Make that a little bigger. There we go. 22 there. And then we say OK. Now we still need another one, a purple one here. So we'll double click one more time on there and we'll go and we'll add one more. We'll click and we'll add that one. The bottom one here, we're going to change the color and we're going to get this purple. And we're going to say, okay. And we're going to do something like 33. There we go. Okay. Now we have that 3 strokes on our word strokes and we're ready to go. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Grab your type tool again, hit Command S, save your progress. Okay. We're going to go on to bevels here. Okay. I'm going to click here and I'm going to go ahead and type the word bevels, Bevels. I'm going to get my move tool and I'm just going to go ahead and move this guy right next to here. Now we're going to do the same thing where we're just going to double click on our layer, brings up the layer style guide here, and we're going to click bevel and emboss this time. Go ahead and reset to default here so we can see this. Now in here, we've got the same thing on bevel and emboss. We got some different settings in here. The main ones we want to say, we're going to have an inner bevel on this. Okay, it's set to smooth. We're going to go ahead and say chisel hard. Okay, and that's going to give us most of our look here. Now it looks like it's a little darker over here. Okay, so I can go through here. I got my depth. I've got some direction up, down that I can go. Either it can be beveled up or it can be beveled indent like it's pushed down into the paper or into whatever material you're engraving there. Okay, you can soften and size. You have this meter. You'll see a whole bunch right here. This meter is going to allow you to change which way an angle that the light is coming from. So that's very handy. You can either type it in, but I usually just use this little dial there and move it to where you want it to be. Okay, now I want to darken up the shadow. There's a highlight mode. It's got an overlay screen there. I've got an opacity, a shadow mode, an opacity for the highlight, and opacity for the shadow. I went ahead and take that shadow and take the opacity up a little bit so I get a little bit darker there, up to about 80, 90 there. And that looks really good. And I can take those highlights up just a little bit too. Okay. And then when I'm happy with it, I say, okay, I got a little preview window, but this really happens in real time. So you don't really have to pay a whole lot of attention to that. Okay. Once you got that, great. We are done with that. All right, now we're going to move on. We're going to do this one shadows. Now we've done this quite a few times in Photoshop before. It's just a regular drop shadow. It's in the same place. Go ahead, click there, and I'll type shadow. Get my move tool. Move my type over. Again, double click on that. Pull up my layer styles. This time we're going to go all the way to the bottom here, and we got drop shadow. It's going to give you this drop shadow. I'm going to reset this to default. Okay. And it's kind of hard to see the shadow when you first see it, but it is there. It's just offset just a little bit, okay? Now it's set to multiply. It's set on black. It's opacity. You can take that up a little bit. You got that direction finder, and you got the distance. When you start playing with the distance, you can start seeing where that shadow is at a little, okay? So I'm going to try and make it look approximately like it looks over here in my example. So I'll take that out. Spread's going to take how much it's kind of blurred there. You can kind of blow it out until it's completely unrecognizable. And then size is going to kind of give you a blur or fuzziness to it. Okay. So I want a little bit of fuzziness to it. And then you can add noise if you want and all those settings there. If you're not sure what a slider does, take it all the way one way, take it all the way the other way, and kind of see what it does in there, because you can always undo anything in Photoshop. All right, we'll go ahead and say, okay, that looks good there. Okay. Going on to the next one here, we're going to go ahead and type the word glow and move this guy, get back over there, get my typography tool here again. I'm going to type the word glow, Glow. Again, double click, layer style. Layer style, this time we want to do is an outer glow. Okay, so it's right down here, outer glow. Okay, reset to this to default again as well. Now, usually it's default to white, so white on white, I can't really see it. Okay, so I've got kind of like a reddish orange glow here. So I'm going to go ahead and change my color to kind of a reddish orange here, like that. Okay, now I can't see it very well, so I'm going to change from screen, which is going to affect on a white outside. So we're going to, since we have a white outside, we're going to go ahead and change this just to normal and see if we can't see this. And there you can see it once I change that screen mode, okay? Take the opacity up a little bit there, noise. But what we want to do is like this spread and the size are the two that's going to be the ones that kind of make that glow expand there. Okay, so I'm going to take that glow up a little bit there. The opacity looks like it's down just a little bit there. So I got a similar look that's going on there. Okay, that's good. We got that one working there. Okay, all right, same thing for inner glow. Go ahead and click here and do the same thing. INNERGLOW, inner glow. Double click, layer style, and I'm going to select inner glow. Now you can see here that it's just barely in there. Let's go ahead and reset this to default as well. Okay, and I've got that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and you can do the screen. That should work against the screen. You can kind of see it there. And again, it's about that size of that inner glow. You see it kind of brighten up. Now, if I make it really big, it just kind of changes the colors of the letters, right? I'm going to take it up just a little bit there until I see that inner glow in there. Okay, if you wanted to change your color, you could change your color to a different color. But I think white probably works the best for inner glow in this case on there. So there I've got some inner glow, and you can see that in there as I'm coming up. Okay, all right, moving on down, we've got a gradient. Okay, type the word gradient, double click. I'm going to go to gradient overlay. Gradient overlay. Okay. Now, same thing here. I've got a blend mode. It's on normal here, and I've got an opacity of it here. You can take it up to 100%, so I have this full blown out. Okay. Now, up here, when you click on this little drop-down menu, you've got all these presets that you can use. You can use just your very first one is always going to apply to your foreground and background color. I have black and white, so it's going to be just those two. So you can have that, but you can pick all kinds of fun colors. Your direction there, you can set it right at 90 degrees. If you can't get it, you can always type in 90 and have it right there. Now, as with all these are all editable. So if I wanted to go back and change that and make it this green and white here, I can't edit it this way. Okay, now I can go in here, and if you want to change the color, I can just double click on any color swatch, and I can either set it to what I want and try to match that, or I can go in here with my color picker again, same way, and set it like that and say okay. And over here, I'm going to go ahead and double click this one, and we'll go ahead and set this to white. And you can see I've got that there. Okay, now I have this one here. If you want to remove a color, you just click and drag it away. If you want to add a color, click and add it up there. Add as many as you want up here. Change them all to all kinds of crazy colors and make a crazy gradient as you want. And if you don't like anything, again, you can just click and drag them away like that. Okay, once you're happy with the gradient, you say okay there. Now, it looks like this one's going from top to bottom. So instead of there, I'm going to do 180 degrees or negative 90. And it's got that there, and I've got that gradient there. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, next we're going to do clipping mask. Okay, now clipping mask is not going to use one of the layer styles. This is a different thing. Okay, you can see it has like a honeycomb like pattern put behind here. Let's go ahead and we're going to type clipping mask. Go ahead and return on this here. Okay, now I've got the word clipping mask here, and I'm going to go ahead and put it right there next to it. Okay, now clipping mask adds by you have to have an image of a texture or something you want to add to this, and it's going to mask it out just like with a mask that is invisible, non-destructive, only reacts to black and white. So to do this, first I need an image. Okay, so I'm going to hit Command Tab and jump over here to Google again. Okay, and jump over here and let's just type in honeycomb. Pull me out of the way. I'm going to just look for images of a honeycomb. And I'm just going to go ahead and take this very first one that pops up here. That looks fine. I'm going to right click on it, two fingers bunny ears. We're going to copy that image. We're going to go Command Tab. We're going to go back to Photoshop. And then I'm going to just paste it on there, Command V. Okay. All right, so there I've got my image on there. You can see it's very large. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to shrink this down until it's just covering the word clipping mask. Go ahead and grab that, shrink them on down there. All right. So now you can see I've got clipping mask and I've got the honeycomb pattern. Okay. This is super easy to do. This is how you have to set it up. If whatever you want to have, you need it underneath and what you want to add the pattern with, you want to put it over top of that layer, on the top layer, not the word, but on the pattern you want to apply. You want to right click, two fingers, bunny ears, and you can say create clipping mask. And that will go ahead and make a clipping mask. And you can see it's applied that texture to what we have. Now, the cool thing is I can still have my move tool and I can still move that pattern around. And if I want to poke out the eye, turns back regular, put it back on, and I can also release that clipping mask and it just goes back to a regular layer, okay? Because it's a mask, it's not going to destroy that data there. All right, so now we're moving on to type on a path and type within a path, okay? Now these type, we're gonna actually use the pen tool to make a type path that's gonna move along a specific line. So I'm going to get my pen tool. I'm going to click. I'm going to click and pull. And I'm going to click and pull. Okay. Pen tool is very good at making curves. So you can see I pull there and I've got a nice curve. I'm going to do that one more time. Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. Okay. If I just click and click and click and click, the pen tool will keep making straight lines. Okay. Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. But what the pen tool is really good at is making perfect curves. So if you come here and I click and pull, you see that I can pull the direction of that curve. And wherever I click, it's going to make a perfect curve out of that. And let's go ahead and just take it over here. Okay, so now I have a path. Okay, and on this path, I want to type. Now, I'm going to go ahead and grab my typography tool. Now, you'll see that as I've just had my typography tool, it has a square around it. But as I approach this path, if I hover over this path, you'll see that it changes to that little swash line. And when saying, do you want to type on that path? And I say, heck yeah, I do. I go ahead and click on it, and it's going to fill in there. Okay, now I'm going to type on a path. Okay, now you saw I wasn't able to get everything on there. Okay, and why that is because my type is very large. So if I want to fit that whole sentence on there, it has to be small enough to fit on this path. So I can click there and say Command A, and then I can go ahead and I can come up here and we can change. Let's go ahead and try and make that a little bit smaller. Let's make it 18 points. Okay, type on a path. Now it fits there. Okay. Now, where you click is important because it's going to allow you to start and stop. You saw I grabbed at the beginning and started typing, okay? Now, if you want to adjust where it is, you can use your path selection and your direct selection tool. Let's grab our direct selection tool here. You see as I hold over there, I get these little arrows that pop up there that says where I can pull that type and move it along the path and change it. I can even put it above and below if I want, okay? But it's going to change where it goes on that path. Okay, great, super. All right, now let's do this where we're going to type within a path. To type within a path, I'm going to go ahead and get my shape tool, and I'm just going to make a triangle with my shape tool. But instead of making a shape, I'm going to go ahead and set from shape, I'm going to make a path. Okay, and I'll just make a triangle here. Now I could do a custom shape with my pen tool. I'm going to use the shape here to show it works with the same. Now when I make this, I'm going to take my typography tool, okay? Now, just like we were on the path before, it's a square. As I come up to it, if I come up and hold over it, it gives me the squiggle line, says, do you want to type on a path? If I go inside of it, it gives me a circle. It says, do you want to put type within that path? Which is what I want to do, okay? So I click in there, and again, my type's very large, so it can only fit a couple words inside of there before it runs into a wall, right? So let's type, I'm going to go ahead and type within a path. And I'm not going to put any spaces between these words, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and triple click 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and grab that so that they're all highlighted, and I'm going to reduce the size of it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's make this 10 points. Okay, and you can see it's much smaller there. Okay, now if I just hit Command C, Command V, and I keep going Command V, it's going to keep filling that up until it runs into an edge. Okay, now if I have a space in there, let me do that again. Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. Oh, let's go 1, 2. Oh no. Okay. If I do just type space WITIHN space A space, and I do Command C, Command V, Command V, Command V, Command V. As soon as it can't put that whole word in there, it's going to stop, right? So if you want to really fill that up, I can just leave those spaces out. So I'm going to type that again. Command A, type in a PA path. Okay. I'll do Command A, Command C to copy, Command V, Command V, Command V until it fills up. Okay. Now I can make this even smaller and fill it in even more. Let's go ahead and make this down to 6 points there, and you can see I'll fill it even more. And I'll say Command A to select all, Command C to copy, and Command V, Command V, and Command V, and I can keep pasting those up. Okay, now that is all of our typography tools you see right there. We've got our strokes, we got bevels, we got shadows, we got glow, we got inner glow, gradient, clipping mask, type on a path, and we also have type within a path. Okay, but to get some really cool effects is where you start mixing those up and playing around with those things. Like on my metal one here, where you can see there is a gradient that has a metal, it's got a stroke on it, and a bevel, and a drop shadow. So when you start mixing those together, you can really get some really cool things. All right, that's it for today, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you learned everything. If you missed anything, rewind, and I'll talk to you soon. Stay creative.